Welcome to Crypto Talks, the podcast that features the early adopters of the blockchain and cryptocurrency world. It's me, Annie Alexander, and I will uncover the stories of the humans behind the crypto and introduce you to new and exciting blockchain projects. Are you ready for the journey down the rabbit hole? Hello everyone. Welcome to the show. Today we have yet another interview. This one is a little bit different in a sense that, those are not the topics I usually cover and know much about, but we're getting there slowly. So we're going to have a completely different topic, but it's something I think sooner or later everyone will get into. So we're going to pioneer that, right? So today I'm talking to Julian Haust. Did I pronounce it right?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to tell you who he is based on his Facebook intro. And it says co-founder of TenX, blockchain expert, medical doctor, professional athlete, author, and speaker. And my first question is, it's so diverse. How do you manage to do all that at the same time?
I think my common thread through life has always been growth, has always been progress, has always been trying out new things, always pushing to fun, great areas. And it was professional kite surfing in my very early years. It was studying medicine, then working as a medical doctor for a very brief time. And it's becoming an entrepreneur and having been in blockchain since end of 2014. So almost 3 years now, yeah.
Well, I mean, growth sounds perfect, but like from medical doctor to blockchain, that's a little bit drastic. How did that happen?
Well, why did I go in medicine in the first place? I went into medicine because I'm a really curious learner. I love science. I'm a very scientific person. And so I loved medicine. But working as a medical doctor was not what fulfilled me. I was a professional kite surfer, so I traveled the world. I had fun for 10 years. And I got to see places that most people will never see in their life. And I got paid to go there. And so suddenly I was stuck in my hospital working and having to deal with patients and having to deal with problems. And for me, this was not something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so that's why I basically went back to what I enjoyed doing and what I wanted. And that's why I dropped back out of working as a doctor, started my own business. That was in 2012. And moved to Hong Kong. And I stepped away from my first business and met my co-founders in Thailand. And we started TenX in 2015.
Wow. Okay. So there are many people who I'm sure are not happy at where they are right now and what they're doing. And many would love to do these drastic changes, but there are so many obstacles on the way, and mainly internal ones like the self-doubt, the risk component, what if it doesn't work out and all that stuff. So did you have to deal with those?
I mean, of course, I had a couple of things that helped me. First of all, I did have a little bit of money saved up. So I had enough money that I knew, okay, I could survive 6 months. Even if I made zero income, at least I could survive. And for me, I always had this trust. First of all, I had a lot of trust in myself. I knew if I wanted to do something, I was going to be able to do it. And the second thing is I knew I could always go back and work in a hospital. To me, that was something that I could always do. But here's an important thing. I think everyone could always go back and work in what they used to work before. I think it's this constant fear of, I'm not going to get this job anymore, or it will never be as awesome as it's here. And so for me, I never had this fear. And the second or the other thing that I really did early was I always surrounded myself with people that I wanted to be like, or that I wanted to grow into. And I think this is so easy said, and so few people do it. The very first time I did that was when I was 15 and I wanted to become a professional basketball player. I stopped growing. I didn't get really tall, so that dream kind of went down together. But already when I was 15, I moved to the US. Why? Because I really wanted to become a professional basketball player, and I believed in the US. That's why I'm going to learn that. And when I dropped out of working as a doctor and quit working there, I said, you know what? I need to go somewhere where I learn how to do business. And so for me, that was Hong Kong. So that's why I moved into Hong Kong, because I really wanted to surround myself with people who were financially and business minded.
Okay, I see. Well, I mean, Robin Sharma usually says you're the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. So I guess that's the logic you were following. So let's talk about 10X. Let's talk about what it is and how did the idea come? So obviously you were already in blockchain and you were in the ecosystem, but you said you met your co-founder, and how did, tell us the story of how the idea was born and how did you decide to do it together?
So the very early idea of making Bitcoin spendable, this was the very early idea. That idea did not come from me. That idea came from my two co-founders, Paul and Toby. They knew each other a little bit longer than I knew them. I think they met each other in 2013. I'm not 100% sure, but I think in 2013 or maybe 2012. When I met them at the end of 2014, they were a bit ahead of me when it came to blockchain, when it came to the technology and everything. And they had already been thinking about how could you make Bitcoin spendable. Back then, Bitcoin was really, really important. And it still is, but back then it was the only sheriff in town. And so when I joined them in June 2011, June 11, 2015, it was really about making Bitcoin spendable. But where I had a very significant impact, and we also rebranded the company then, was when we moved from, back then it was called OneBit or OnePay, and we moved to TenX, and that was in 2016, was when I really pushed for making any cryptocurrency spendable, anytime, anywhere. And the reason we pushed for that was because I truly believe that Bitcoin is not going to be the only important cryptocurrency in the future. I think we're going to see a lot of different ones that are going to be important. And so I didn't want to be so stuck on one currency. I truly wanted to have any currency. And that's when we kind of upgraded that entire concept, that entire idea from back then OneBit, not going one bit at a time, but 10xing everything, being bigger and thinking bolder.
Okay, I see. So most probably people who are listening or to this show or are watching it live or later on the replay are not very familiar with cryptocurrency in general and Bitcoin and all that stuff. So, but even those who don't really know much about it have two polar sort of, assumptions and stereotypes linked to it. Some of them are very skeptical and think that it's just another sort of hype that will go away and it's a scam kind of thing and very risky and not worth getting involved with. Some others are extremely enthusiastic, but don't know much about that stuff either. So what is the picture and how do you look at it? It's definitely for now, it's pretty niche, like the group of people who really understand what it is and are really using it and are involved are not that many. It definitely will grow later on. But what do you see, like, how can you in very simple way explain what it really is to, so to speak, normal people?
I mean, to me, that movement, that blockchain, and I really look at blockchain as the technology. I'm not per se a big Bitcoin or Ethereum or Dash fan per se. I like all these cryptocurrencies. But for me, it's really about the underlying technology. For me, blockchain is the same revolution when it comes to ownership, when it comes to money, when it comes to any kind of asset, as the internet was to communication and how it was to information. And what I mean with this is the following. Prior to the internet, we could have not done what we are doing right now because we would have relied on centralized large stations that controlled whether you would be allowed to do this or not. If they wanted you to do this video, you could do it. If they didn't want you to do it, there's no chance you get your radio show out, your television show out, your newspaper out, your word out, your message out. Everything was completely controlled by centralized institutions. And when the internet popped up, the internet per se is a concept. It is nothing else than an idea of decentralization, meaning not one ruling it all. It's an interconnection of things. And once this happened, it allowed for telecommunication done over the internet. It allowed for things like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all these kind of live and not live mediums. Well, the blockchain is doing exactly the same thing to ownership. It's the ownership of anything you can imagine. It's the ownership of money. It's the ownership of real estate. It's the ownership of stocks, of diamonds, of gold, whatever you want to kind of own. The blockchain takes this responsibility away from one central institution. The easiest one to explain is always the bank because it's a concept that we all understand. If the bank says, yesterday you had money, tomorrow you don't have money because I don't like you or because you did something, then like this, your money's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. If you are part of a government and that government doesn't like you and they want to take your ID away, your passport away, they snip with the finger and your ID's gone. And there's nothing you can do to verify that you are who you are. Well, blockchain allows to decentralize that, meaning taking that power away from one institution, from one individual, from one organization, and distributing it over every participant, just like the internet did. And the more participants that are part of it, the stronger this entire ecosystem gets. And so right now, there's just a couple of million people in the entire world actively using it. But once this becomes more and more and more, it's just like the internet. If you're using Twitter and there's maybe 5 million people in total using Twitter or Facebook, yeah, it's fun, but it's not as powerful as suddenly when there's hundreds of millions on there and your word and your voice is totally heard by a different kind of powerful kind of system. And the blockchain does exactly the same thing to ownership, to who owns what, how are things transferred. And that's why I'm such a big believer in it, because it will be a huge, 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 I don't want to say revolution, but evolution of certain states.
Oh, yeah, I do agree with you, and I think that I think the biggest obstacle of many people joining in is that it sounds and seems very complex. So it's very difficult to explain in simple terms and in very practical terms to a usual person what it is, what it can be done with it, and why it can become a very big thing for them and for their life in reality. So that is why I think TenX is sort of bringing this link together and showing that it's not just a theoretical something out there, it's something that can be used and brought to life. So I mentioned before the interview that I started writing on steemit.com, where basically content creators are being rewarded cryptocurrency, the Steem dollars, for their content that they create, and the ones which is liked are making a little bit of money, some a lot. So, but you end up getting into this rabbit hole of cryptocurrency. People end up coming, bloggers, podcasters, content creators come into the ecosystem, and then they get into this, reality of cryptocurrency and like, oh my God, what the hell is this? Let's read a little bit, let's talk to people, let's ask questions and understand what's happening. So we have a bunch of people who end up with Steem dollars on their accounts, and they don't really understand, okay, this is nice, it looks great, I see the number, I don't know what to do with it. So you end up realizing that you have to go to the market, you have to exchange it to something, and eventually what everyone is interested on the short term is, okay, all sounds good. In reality, how can I get real money out of this? So I think TenX has the exact straightforward process for that. Can you talk about this?
Yeah, I mean, and you pointed out some really important things. If you have something that the major question that you have to ask yourself from an economic perspective is, how is something derived of value? What is needed that something actually has value? And many people always talk about value comes from supply and demand, but that's only part of the truth. A lot of value comes from its actual usability or transportability. It's a very simple idea. If I give you $100 and you give me $100 back, but your $100 is stuck to the wall, even though it's the same $100, because it's stuck to a wall, the value of that $100 drops significantly, if not going to zero. Because if I don't manage to get that $100 off the wall, I'm not going to be able to spend it. And that is a major issue with cryptocurrencies right now. Yes, these cryptocurrencies, and that has nothing to do with Steemit. It's literally any cryptocurrency. They have this fantastic concept or idea, just like the $100 on the wall. They have great abilities that these things could change a lot of the things in the world. But as long as you're not going to be able to actually use those things, it's really, really difficult to actually get value out of it. And so that was this major thing where we said, okay, if we truly want to take blockchain into this direction that the internet was taking 30 years ago, we need to get people away from it being complicated and difficult and inconvenient, and it has to be super convenient. It has to be this one-stop go, just like I don't know, when AOL went and got everyone, America online, got everyone in the US online. It really transformed the internet because it was literally download the app, open your computer, click, and you're online. And so we wanted to do the same thing with cryptocurrency. So what we did as a first step was at TenX is, okay, you put your cryptocurrencies into our app, into our wallet, and you can spend these cryptocurrencies anytime, anywhere, through a debit card, online, offline, anywhere where a card is accepted. And so this was this first step of convenience so that people are not scared of holding these cryptocurrencies anymore, because the major question is, what am I going to do with it? How am I going to use them? Where am I going to spend them?
Exactly.
And then the next step is obviously, and that's going to be the major challenge for us for next year, is the opposite way. So how can we get someone who who maybe knows about cryptocurrencies already, but doesn't know how to get cryptocurrencies in? Because then suddenly we have both ways. If we can do this as a one-stop through the app, you can get cryptocurrencies in, you can get it out. Super simple. Then there's only the third step left. And the third step is the major fear that most people have today. Cryptocurrencies are volatile. So what if I buy Bitcoin or I buy Ethereum, what if they go up and down in value? Well, what if there's a solution, a very simple, super easy way how we can take away the volatility so that your cryptocurrency stays super stable? And this is possible. There's a lot of great solutions on how to do this. And we have been thinking these things through. So right now at TenX, we have this first stage of, okay, let's get cryptocurrencies out. Next, how to get them in. And then we're going to take the masses by saying, okay, you can get them in, they're going to stay stable, and it's very easy for you to get them back out again. And then suddenly we have this one-stop, this AOL kind of model where we can just onboard users and it's totally flawless, convenient. And then, in my opinion, that's when cryptocurrencies are going to see this huge explosion of popularity because it becomes convenient.
Absolutely. I mean, volatility is another thing. I mean, I had these discussions with people, and many people think that only those who have this high tolerance to risk and are a little bit speculative by nature, only those are the ones who should get involved in the thing, because it is volatile and it is not stable for sure. So let's talk about the practical part of it. Like, for example, I'm just taking my journey because I just got into that and I got into all these questions that came at me. So basically, let's say I have several different cryptocurrencies and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what happens next? Let's say once I decide to use them, what do I do? And when I was just, researching a little bit, I came across BitPay, which also has a MasterCard, I think, or Visa card. That is, I think it's Visa card that is linked to Bitcoin, and you can spend it as any kind of debit card. So that sort of sounds very nice, but apparently, it's just Bitcoin as far as I know. So here, I mean, I obviously see the difference with TenX. What else is there? I mean, what else with TenX that sort of, compared to alternative approaches that one can go to?
I mean, a real major one is that multi-asset approach. I mean, it sounds so simple. Yes, they have Bitcoin, and yes, TenX has Ethereum, and they have Dash, and they have ERC20 tokens. But so they have a couple of more. But it's not like you having dollars and euros in your wallet. It's having flowers and oil in your wallet. These things are so different. Just because they're called cryptocurrencies, it's night and day. The technology is so different. The programming language, the security that's needed. So different kind of currencies, people think, that's a small little thing. It's huge. It's really, really difficult to integrate various currencies. So that is a big, big, big difference. The second one is, and you can see this all over YouTube, all over social media, we give users a sheer perfect rate, which means we don't uptick the rates. Because if we would uptick the rates, then the question becomes, why should you use a debit card if you could take a longer route and you just use an exchange and you take the longer route until the cryptocurrency is back into euros or dollars? We didn't want that challenge for you. For a user, we wanted to give them a sheer perfect rate. You can compare it. You can go on an exchange. When you go and spend it, you will not see a major difference because we are passing on the best rate available to the user, because the way we make money is on the interchange. It's on a totally different system. It's on that fee that a merchant has to pay anyways whenever someone uses a credit card, and we make money off that. And over the long run, this makes a lot more money than if we charge our users right now just to make a cut right now. We don't want to do that. And that's, I think, really important.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. You mentioned merchants, and I think, you know, also the value of the card that you're getting depends on in how many places you can spend it, how many merchants are accepting it. So what is the situation with that part?
I mean, it's just a regular debit card. So basically, you get a regular debit card, and you can use this debit card, I think, in 100 and probably close to 200 countries in the world. There's millions of traditional acceptance points. Whenever you go shopping, and I don't know, you use a MasterCard or use a Visa card or whatever you use to pay at exactly these terminals, this debit card also works. And that's what's really cool. That's what's really important. Also for the merchant, they don't need to change anything. They don't need to update anything. It's with their very traditional system, because we at TenX take care of everything else, basically.
Okay, well, it sounds great. So so let's talk about the practical side of the things. So let's say someone has a little bit of different cryptocurrencies and would like to get involved and would like to get your services and your card. What is the procedure of that?
So
what one has
right
to do?
now, August 3rd, you can only download our Android app. By the mid of the month, you can download our web app. And in the third week of August, you can also download iOS. So these dates are fixed. So you download these apps, or you use these apps, and you create a free account. So you log in, it asks for your email address and your phone number just for security. And then you create your free account. And with that, you create your wallet where you can deposit cryptocurrencies onto. All this is free. And then if you want, you can order our debit card. So you can say order TenX debit card. And for that, there's a one-time fee of $15 that covers shipping and handling into the entire world. It's not every country, but it's pretty much most of the large countries that you can order that from, and we ship it for the $15. You get that debit card. And when you have that debit card, you can fund it with Ethereum, Bitcoin Dash, or ERC20. We're going to be adding more coins, but this is what we have right now. It's actually quite a large array. It covers over 90% of all the kind of assets that are. And then you just fund it. It takes maybe, I don't know, half an hour until it's on your card, and then you're ready to go. So it's really flexible. There's no extra fees when you do that. It's really straightforward. And it works online, offline. So it's super convenient.
Okay, and so you know, if you're someone who's taking the passive approach of the things, you don't even have to worry too much about the exchange rate, etc. You just spend it whenever you need to spend it, as much as you need to spend it, and on the spot you get the rate, which is, as you said, quite favorable for the user.
Correct.
So okay, so we have a question. I hope it shows up. So what do you think of blockchain being used in other industries? Also love that you're making money in the flat systems. So blockchain in other industries?
I mean, blockchain is going to transform any industry where it's about the storage of information, the storage of ownership. I think it's going to be, and probably there's going to be many industries that we can't even envision how it's going to transform, but it's going to transform, I mean, I would say almost any industry, because in so many industries, we need to store information. In literally any information. It's about storing ownership. And suddenly you take out these middlemen that are so centralized, that are a huge liability when it comes to security and comes to risk. So if you can take these away, I think we're going to have totally different options. It comes out also down to the so-called IoT, the Internet of Things. That suddenly literally all the things are connected to the internet. They become little entities. They can communicate with each other. And the blockchain allows these things to pay each other. So there's some very interesting models where, I don't know, your fridge pays Amazon automatically when they order something. And then, I don't know, the toaster has to pay the fridge because it gets a cheese from the fridge. So there's some really, really interesting kind of economical models. It goes down to self-driving cars. A self-driving car in the future is probably not going to charge you for a way anymore. It's going to charge you for every meter it's driving. And it's going to be in such small increments, which is absolutely not feasible today. But if these things are connected to the blockchain, it can be instant in very little pieces. I think one of the biggest things where blockchain is going to be so powerful is identification. This simple question of, Annie, how are you proving to me that you're Annie, right? It's such a basic, stupid kind of question that the smarter graphical stuff becomes, like you can, with enough computing power, we can take your face and we can take your mouth and your eyes and everything, and we can make you say whatever a computer wants you to say because it has enough computing power and it knows how you say these things. So from a verification kind of point, video identification is going to be useless in a couple of years. There's so many questions on how you identify yourself. And with blockchain, a lot of these things would be totally different because it would not be about central services anymore. It would be about a lot of different factors. And I think this identification topic is going to be huge over the next years, actually.
Yeah, actually, it reminded me in London, I was at a startup competition, and one startup had, actually that was the one who won. They were having a project about development programs around the world, USAID, UN, etc. And their argumentation was that loads of money doesn't get to the end user. And they were using blockchain technologies in order to identify the people and to track the aid that they were getting. So basically, they were identified and they were getting the food in the proportion they had to make sure that these people get whatever they are they are getting. So it was
donation. You know how cryptic donations are sometimes. If you ask a lot of people, why don't you donate? They say, you know why? Because I donate to this company and I don't know what this company is going to do with the money. Well, suddenly this entire thing changes because a nonprofit is going to be so transparent and says, okay, we want to donate $1 million to them. Please give us $1 million. You can track every single cent on how it goes to these people. And suddenly it's so transparent that you have no incentive anymore on trying to do things yourself. You really want to go with these large institutions because they have to do what they say they're going to do because everything is so transparent. And that's exactly what the example you were making.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about security. I mean, many years ago, when banks were not so secure, people were worried, like, okay, we put our money in a bank. What if it explodes? What if it, goes bankrupt and we lose everything? So every time you depend on something, it's a little bit of, this risk of not having things under your own control. So I think all these, cryptocurrency websites and systems that are in place sort of have this psychology from my side, like, okay, it's not under my control. What happens if something happens? So what is the situation with TenX in that respect?
I mean, I don't know how TenX is going to have a massive impact on that specific feeling. I think that feeling of ownership is something that we as humans have instilled in us since we were hunters and gatherers. So we have this for tens of thousands of years, right? We want to own stuff. We want to control certain things. And you see this a lot. You see companies like Uber, companies like Airbnb, they have to challenge the status quo because basically what they're trying to do is they're going to try to tell you, don't own your own car anymore. Don't own your apartment anymore. You can go out and you can be this nomad. You can be more flexible. And I think cryptocurrencies take this to another level by actually you not having anything anymore. You don't have the dollars in your pocket. No one does. Everyone proves that you own these dollars, or everyone proves that you are the person who you are. And I think it's the same with the internet. At the beginning, I still remember when I went to university, it was so difficult for me to give proof of my sources when I cited things out of the internet. So when I was citing certain things for my research, I had to cite a lot of physical things. So still books and a lot of these very traditional things. They didn't allow me to cite stuff on the internet. It was, I'm talking about the years 2008, 2009, these kind of years, right? So everything was still quite early, 10 years ago. I think today, no one would do this anymore. It's okay to cite certain sources on the internet. And there's levels of sources on the internet where you say, okay, Wikipedia is not such a secure source because it's pretty much an open source project. Then you have more kind of scientific kind of papers and so on. And I think the blockchain is going to see the exact same transformation. It's going to go from, yes, not sure if this is something that I own, to in 10 years or 20 years to something where you're like, okay, I mean, I would never ever trust a bank to control my money anymore. I mean, what happens if these things shut down? What happens if this person kind of does a mistake? I only trust the blockchain. And I think it's just the same kind of transformation that's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to take 10, 20 years. And I think no one will ever want to go back anymore.
Okay, I see. So it's in a relatively early stage. Usually, you know, when something is going to grow, earlier you get into it, the better off you are. I mean, it happened with many other things. I mean, even like the basic example of blogging, you know, the bloggers who just started in the very beginning were better off. I mean, they weren't better bloggers, but they were much better off just because they started early. So I guess there is this temptation, and many people would love to get involved in blockchain and in crypto and all these things, which for many are sounding a little bit weird and strange and completely new. So for someone who's just, you know, putting his toes into the water and trying to figure out what it is and what can be done there, what are the resources, or, you know, where one starts? Where do I go? What do I do? What is the best approach to sort of, you know, acquire knowledge in a simplest and fastest way, if that's possible?
I mean, I would love to give you this one-stop answer. I think right now the entire ecosystem is still a bit young to kind of give you this answer. To me, it's something where you will have to invest, not like a lot of hours, but just a little bit of hours every week where you're like, okay, you know what? Let me kind of get my hang around this. Let me go on YouTube and let me research some videos and let me type in what is a blockchain and watch that video. And let me type in what is Bitcoin and let me type in what is mining and let me type in how do private keys and public keys work. And, you know, and the thing is this, every time you're confused and you actually grow with this, you're going to learn something new. And every time you're going to learn something new, you become a more powerful human being. And with that, you can create more value. And you being able to create more value is going to allow you to be way more economical out there in the marketplace, because suddenly you have these totally new skills and tools that you can apply out there. And I think it's this process of being confused that scares so many people in starting this cascade of actually becoming more valuable out there. Because they want to be in their comfort zone. So you're going to be 1 or 2 or 3 weeks out there and you're going to be totally confused and you're going to be a bit lost and you're going to feel frustration because you don't know where to go. But if you break through that and you stick with it, I think that's my best answer. I couldn't guide you to that one stop right now. We're like, go there and you have this start here and end here and you know everything about blockchain. I think the industry right now is too young for that still.
Okay, I see. So I have this impression that many people have the wrong sort of notion that it's more for people who are more into maths and science and their brain is more like, you know, towards that side of the things versus, you know, creative people and those with languages and stronger side being languages and all that stuff. Do you think there is any type of think like, I don't know, coders and programmers and maths people are better in that sphere rather than the rest, or it's just, you know, the wrong impression, and no matter who you are, if you just get interested and start learning a little bit, you still can make it?
It's the same as with the internet. I think it's really relevant for everyone. I truly believe that. I think the internet today is used more by creative and smart creatives who love to create stuff and love to produce stuff than it's used by actual coders or actual developers. It's just that these coders and developers many times jump on a wave earlier because they are fascinated by the technical kind of thing of it. And it takes the smart creatives a bit longer until they can actually start getting the hang of it. But there's always some smart creatives who go and they're like, okay, let's kind of look aside of all this technical gibberish and go and look into the actual use. And these really early adopters, many, many times, they are the true winners. They are the people like Steve Jobs, people that understand maybe a little bit of the tech, but not so much that they get stuck on the tech, but they actually look aside and they go and they're like, okay, so how can I use this? What is this useful for? And I think especially data blockchain, I mean, you mentioned Steemit. There's so many other things and so many tools out there that are not utilized by by creative people, by business-minded people. It's still very much techy and geeky, not because it has to be this way, but because I think the other groups of people haven't yet found their way in. And we're going to see the same wave as with the internet. I think the earlier as a smart creative you can come in there, I think the better your chances of creating something that, that's really going to help you big time.
Okay, so let's talk about this in that case. Like, you mentioned the term smart creative, which I really like. It's sort of unique. So let's say smart creatives would like to get involved in, startups like yours, for example, which is quite techy. But I know that diverse teams are very advantageous. And, the more diverse the team is, the more you get out of it as a value and product. So people who are not really into tech but would like to get involved in companies like yours, what is the best approach to sort of to look into that and to try to tackle that side of things?
So of course, I think all blockchain companies right now, they look for a lot of developers, they look for a lot of tech people, because at the end of the day, that's what we need, and that's at the end it's tech, right? So yeah. But if you have these smart creatives that are not as tech like driven, many times they're designers, many times they are graphic people, many times these are content producers, many times these are people who are communicators, many times these are marketers. These are people who have very, very great skill sets. What they need to understand though is they need to understand how this product of whatever this blockchain company has is relevant to the marketplace out there, and then understand how their skill set fits in there. So if I am a designer and I'm really good at UI, or I'm really good at graphics, or I'm really good at websites, but I don't adapt to that ecosystem because I believe what I have been doing for the past 10 years is going to be really relevant to this ecosystem, you're going to lose. You need to familiarize yourself. You need to go and understand how these techies or how this marketplace thinks right now. You need to understand that and translate that into that language that you're speaking, where you know that this is what the marketplace out there actually loves. But you can't just use what you think is right, because then you don't really communicate the message over. And we see this a lot in marketers, in designers, in business development people. We see people applying, and then I do most of the hiring in our company. So I really want to do this all myself, because I feel if we want to have the culture and all this, I prefer that the founding team does all this hiring. But then you
realized you're going to get loads of messages now after this show.
Absolutely fine. We can deal with all that. That's absolutely fine. If you're a smart creative, reach out to us. We want to have really, really talented coders, non-coders. We're really open. But here's the point. We also very, very, very selective, because if I feel that the style you have is really great for something that you have been doing, but it's not going to be great in the combination of the blockchain kind of space, because maybe you have not even looked into the blockchain, then even though you might have 10 out of 10 skills, it's just not the right fit. And that's really, really, really important. And I think any smart creative out there needs to understand how this ecosystem thinks, what they are about, what people right now in the cryptosphere or the cryptoverse, whatever you want to call this ecosystem, what these things care about, what are their problems, what are their pain points. And the better you understand that, the better you can deliver value. And at the end of the day, any business is about delivering value, because that's the only way how you can create raving fans. And that's how, as a business, you're going to have a sustainable, long-lasting kind of enterprise.
Yeah, completely makes sense. And I do agree that it's all about, it's not really about the people, it's about what people can bring into the thing. So definitely it's a business, it's not charity. So, yeah. I agree that, people won't come in just because they know something which is not of value to the business. So since we sort of, a little bit spoke about the startup culture and the startup itself, I saw a video on your website, which was like a little bit of behind the scenes, the way you launched, and the whole team culture and your raw emotions and the real time what was going on and stuff like that. was it something, I mean, I know that from a personal point of view, from someone who's looking from a side, it's very sort of, you know, it does resonate, it creates this emotional connection, and, you know, it shows that you are human and what you went through and all that stuff, which is very, very nice in terms of storytelling and in terms of the reality of behind the scenes and the real human beings in the team. Did you do it on purpose, or, you know, was it like just, you know, impulsive decision just to switch it on and just, you know, make a video, or you really wanted to show that side of the story?
For us, that was a decision that we took. I think it was beginning of June, end of May, beginning of June, where we said, you know, if we truly want to help this ecosystem, if we truly want to help other people to work in this ecosystem, we can't only tell them the forefront. We can't only show them the surface, because on the surface, every company tries to be spotless. There should not be any mistakes. Everything is perfect. We have enough customers. We have enough money. Everything is always perfect. But the reality is that it's the total opposite. You never have enough customers. You never have enough money. You never have enough talent. You never have enough time. You just never have enough of these things. So constantly, you need to figure out how to create more of these things. How can you be more efficient with your time? How can you get more customers? How can you get more money? So you have to be really creative. And that's why at the end of the day, we really felt, hey, you know what? If we kind of display our journey, and we don't know how this journey is going to turn out, because we started this vlog when we didn't know how our success rate is going to be. We started when literally no one knew about TenX. It was, we had a few hundred fans on Facebook, on Twitter, on Slack, a few. It was really not big. And so, you know, it was a huge gamble. But we said, if we are transparent, authentic, if we show our ups and we show our downs, if we show our successes and our failures, it's either going to give us a great lesson, and if in the best case, it's going to teach others great tips on what to do and what not to do. And so it was a very strategic decision. Obviously, we're really happy about that it turned out that well, and it's we got really great feedback on it. But it was not something that we said one day, okay, let's do it right now. It was a big gamble to say, hey, let's do this vlog. And if it doesn't work out, what are people going to say? You know, there was this question. And so for us, we're really happy. Obviously, it turned out, but it also made us accountable. I think that's also really important. If you have someone watching, you don't only have yourself that you're reporting to, you have suddenly thousands of people that kind of look up to you or look down on you or look over to you, and you're like, oh man, I got to deliver. And I think that was really good.
So did you have a plan B if it didn't work out and it was public? What were you going to do?
Seriously, there was never a plan B. It was, we were sure it's going to work out. I mean, we were really confident.
Okay. Yeah, I see. I mean, that's usually what I'm getting as an answer from entrepreneurs. You know, like, you know, if you have a plan B, it means it's, you know, the chances that it's not going to work are big because you already sort of, you know, made it in your mind that it's possible. So yeah.
And but I want to point something out again, because I think many people think that just because I say that I never doubt myself, that I'm in this entire thing we were around 10 people, that we had never doubts, that there was always certainty. The exact opposite is true. There were so many times during this entire, I mean, now we're around 3 months that we're doing this vlog. And I mean, our company has exploded over those 3 months, from fundraising, from customers, from fans, from everything. I mean, we constantly have doubts. Every morning we get up and there are doubts, there are struggles. I think those people that don't make a plan B are those people that just say, okay, you know what? I have these doubts, they're there, but I'm still going to do it. I'm going to do it anyways. And the people who are then not going to make it, they're those who have the same doubts, the same fears, but they're just going to create a plan B. And if you have a plan B, if it gets tough, you're going to go out there and you're going to choose your plan B. And for us, we just chose not to do it, even though many times, trust me, we would have loved to have it.
I can imagine. I mean, it's a bumpy road out there. So, you know, for sure you had moments when plan B would be useful, but it's good that you didn't have it. Okay, so, well, I mean, if we have to wrap it up, if we have to talk about in general terms about people who want to get involved into the ecosystem and get, you know, just join the thing while it's early. what are the easiest way? I mean, we know where to go in order to spend that thing over there. We know that Steemit gives the possibility to earn a little bit by creating content. I mean, there is the straightforward way of just investing your money, obviously, into this thing. Are there any other sources of getting involved in it and other than just investing real money into this thing?
I mean, I would familiarize myself with 1 or 2 exchanges where you can exchange your euros or dollars or pounds or whatever you have into crypto. There's a couple of really large ones, so you just do your research and you look for a legit one. Don't fall for any scams. That's really important in that ecosystem, so just be sure that you're on the legit side. I would check out some news platforms. There's, for example, Reddit. Reddit is like this social online forum where you can really get some great infos on these things. Just familiarize yourself with this. And then, obviously we would be really happy if you downloaded our TenX app, try it out, see for yourself how it all works, how it all feels. Of course, stay in touch. Just stay in touch with the ecosystem. If there's another company in the crypto space that you really love from the flair and from the kind of attitude these guys have, then, join them, go there, hang around, get the feeling, because that's really going to help you in kind of getting the flair and the feeling for it. And for us, at the end of the day, it's always about growing the entire ecosystem. So yes, of course, we want to grow TenX. It's our baby. It's our business. But we're all really deep in this ecosystem. So for us, it's really important to push blockchain, to push cryptocurrencies. And that's why I really want everyone to succeed in this.
Okay, I see. So, now I'm talking to you and I'm thinking about there are so many ideas about how to make this more comprehensive and more public and have more people know about that and want to get involved. So we'll probably have a chat after this when we have time. So okay, I guess we pretty much covered the basics, and the website is on the screen, so go and check it out. Watch the video. It's really fun video. It's really nice one. Why I like it is because usually companies and online businesses who are not so techy, it's easier for them to go through the storytelling route. It's easier for them to do videos, or, for the solopreneur to talk on screen and share their journeys and all that stuff. It's pretty common and we're used to that. But it's very unique and different when a tech company does this, because usually it's we don't see that much. And I think it's very interesting and intriguing to see the behind the scenes, because we all have biases and we have these stereotypes of people who are in tech and the way they are. Usually it's the wrong impression, but that's what we have in general. And I think it's partly because we haven't seen never had the chance to see the behind the scenes. And if you're not interacting with those kind of people in your real life, it's very difficult to figure out, how they are. We somehow think they are different from, somehow, but I have this impression that it's not really the case. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks a lot for the interview. I'm sure people who will be, our time zones we had an international interview basically. So Julian is in Singapore, I am in Armenia. The time zones are different. And that's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for your time, everyone. And thanks, Julian, for coming over.
Thanks, Annie. It was fun.
This was the Crypto Talks podcast, brought to you by Annie Alexander. If you'd like to engage with other crypto enthusiasts and podcast guests, please join the Crypto Talks community on Telegram at anniealexander.com/Telegram. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please take a minute to subscribe and leave a review. Thank you for listening, and we'll meet you in the next episode.